he bashes a guy's head in like pretty intense. And I just remember watching it and just being like, I didn't watch anything like this when I was a kid.
Rocky?
Shocker. No, I didn't watch Rocky. Unfortunately,
No,
I know that I'm
me
wrong there. But anyway, so I just think it was very, very creepy. Welcome to another episode of Is This for Kids? I am Jonathan Bearded Blevins.
I am Katie, Mrs. Ruby.
And today we're going to talk about dun 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 dun.
The movie Dune is in my chocolatey drink.
Do you see what I did there?
What?
Dun dun.
No.
Dune 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 dune. I thought that was a really cool, unique transition. I wrote it down in my notes and everything.
Did you really?
I did. Dun dun dun. Oh, that was how I was supposed to say it. Dun dun dun. Dune dune dune. Thank you for listening to Is This for Kids? Sometimes we have really fun, clever opening lines, and sometimes
John's
Ruby
in charge of the
judges.
I wasn't there. Here's the thing. Many things about Dune make me feel like I'm not as smart as I thought I was, and that's the headspace I'm in. So I just was like, maybe I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna find out whether or not Dune is for kids. The popcorn bucket, not for kids. Just want to be very clear, okay? Popcorn bucket, not for kids.
That's a thing right now, right? Where we talked about it in the Kung Fu Panda. They're coming out with new popcorn buckets for like every movie. There's one for the new Ghostbusters. There's one for Kung Fu Panda, and there's one for Dune. And if you have seen the Dune one online,
yeah, it was interesting. It certainly was. Here's the thing: even if it wasn't gross, I wouldn't. Why would you ever want?
even with what it is,
it's already hard enough to hold on to all the popcorn.
Yeah.
To get it out through all the teeth.
Yeah.
Seems impossible.
You have to put your hand through one of the worms' mouths into the bucket, and like, just if it is that and you don't think it's anything else and doesn't resemble anything else in your mind,
still gross,
still freaky.
Yeah,
still not into it.
Reminder: the podcast not for kids.
Not for kids.
We are here to let you know what might be for kids.
Right. We're here to give you like a judgment-free, just a little bit of information about something to see if it's appropriate for your kids, and maybe help you to guide them through it if they see it.
That's right.
And you want to have some conversations afterwards.
And today we're going to talk about Dune 1 and 2. The reason we're not splitting it into 2 episodes is because they're the same movie.
Same book, anyway. They're part of the same story. You know
Yeah.
how Harry Potter, number 8 was busted into 2, or 7 and 8 was book 7 twice? It's that.
It's like that.
Yeah.
So explain Dune a little bit for our viewers who may not know. The great 1960s, 70s book?
Yeah. Ish.
Around there?
I don't know. I didn't look it up beforehand, which makes me feel very unprepared.
Well,
but
it's a book. We're not reviewing the book. The
we're not
movie's
reviewing
new.
the
We're
book.
reviewing the movie.
Okay. So, man, I'm going to get clobbered by the people who love this movie. Just
No,
for the
that's
record.
okay. No one loves the movie. They all love the book.
I'm doing the best I can, okay? So we've got House Atreides is given control of a desert planet, Arrakis, for the purposes of mining this naturally occurring substance called spice, which we later find out is sort of like a drug that helps you to see the future, okay? So the native peoples of Arrakis are called the Fremen, and they have a really great relationship and are sort of able to control the planet's underground worm overlords that they have running around there. So the Fremen, good relationship with the worms. However, they did not have a great relationship with the Harkonnens, which was the family that was in charge of the of Arrakis spice mining prior to the Atreides. And it becomes apparent that the Emperor has given control of the planet Arrakis to the Atreides for the purposes of screwing over House Atreides, basically. And if they don't do everything exactly perfect, then it could be the end of House Atreides. Dun, dun, dun.
You did a great job.
Yeah.
That's great. So follows this character Paul.
Yeah.
And he's this, messianic figure.
Son of a duke. So
yeah, it's very interesting. We won't get into all the details. You can check it out for yourself
he's the future
if you want.
Of House Atreides.
I'm glad that you explained it just now because when I watched the first one, now admittedly I did watch it in 4 parts, and so it got a little confusing. I'm not familiar with the world at all other than watching the first movie and then now the second.
The world we live in or the world of Dune?
Both.
Okay, because I've seen this
I've been accused
before.
of both. I've been accused of both for sure. And so I'm glad you explained it. But then my friend, he really broke it down great.
Yeah.
He was just like, oh yeah, it's really easy once you start to just think about how spice is oil. And and then he went down a rabbit hole, and I was like,
no.
I was like, that's what it is.
It really is.
It's interesting, isn't it? But oil doesn't help you see the future.
Which peoples on our planet are in control of giant underground worms? Because I would like to be friends with them.
I don't know, but I think that
Or
should
avoid
be a
them.
question that we ask on Instagram and put it in a story, and people should respond.
Hey, which people in the world are in control of the giant sandworms? Is it Kevin Bacon? I think it's Kevin Bacon.
It could be.
That was a Trimmers reference.
I didn't get it.
That's because you didn't see any movies in the 80s.
But do you like how I riff though?
Yeah, it was great.
I was like, yeah, could be.
Could be Kevin Bacon.
Why would it be Kevin
Just
Bacon?
Footloose.
Never seen it.
That's never mind.
Let's just keep playing this game.
Oh gosh.
Okay. All right. Caddyshack. Never seen it. Kidding. I saw it recently. Love it. But it took me a long time to see that movie.
But this is not
So
related.
Dune, it was fun for me because it's hard. Sometimes I find when we're watching movies to review for Is This for Kids, I find myself getting lost in the movie instead of thinking about it from a parenting perspective.
Right.
And with Dune, it happened once I started understanding. It didn't really happen in the first movie, but it happened in the second movie where I was like, oh, this is just really good. And then halfway through Dune 2, I was like, is this movie for kids? And then I thought of like the 10 things that immediately stood out in just the first half of the second movie and then some of the things from the first one. And I was like, oh, there's some interesting things that happen in this like sci-fi. Way darker than Star Wars, way more violent than Star Wars and Star Trek, in my opinion. I would even say more violent than Lord of the Rings, which we've done episodes on. You can check that out, isthisforkids.com or our YouTube channel, Spotify, everywhere you're listening to podcasts. It was super creepy. Like some of the characters, the Bene Gesserit, if I'm saying that right, the way that they can like change their voice to be like, that was creepy. If I was thinking to myself, if I was a kid, 15, 14, I would have been scared of half of the characters in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
I left the Bene Gesserit out of my description. I meant to say something about them. The Bene Gesserit, in case you don't know, they're the group of, let's go with witch nuns. That seem to be like the controlling force in the empire. They have an ear on the emperor. They kind of are controlling everything behind the puppet masters.
Yeah. And
but
they're like
that controlling voice, which is creepy.
Yeah, and besides Chani, like pretty much the main character, the main female characters in the movie are just depicted as horrible women. Like besides Chani and his mom a little, but like the rest are just like controlling to the point where in Dune 2 there's like the most evil character like in the entire movie sleeps with one of the moms so that the bloodline can go on.
Yeah.
Like it's implied that it was just a power move as well. Yeah. Completely. So like I don't know. I like went in thinking, man, this is probably like a 13, 14-year-old movie, and I think like the violence, the violence isn't just like fighting. It's slitting throats all over the place.
Psychological violence.
Yeah, bashing people's heads up. Violence in order to gain control as well happens all the time. Where like I'm just gonna make a statement and make sure that you're afraid of me still, so I'm gonna kill this person. Was pretty tough. And then in the second one, you heard people dying behind the scenes, like women, and that was really kind of messed up.
Implied sexual assault.
Yes.
Yeah, that was like,
see,
you don't see it,
I'm convincing you to think it's a little bit older.
No.
I think as we go. He bashes a guy's head in like pretty intense. And I just remember watching it and just being like, I didn't watch anything like this when I was a kid.
Rocky?
Shocker. No, I didn't watch Rocky. Unfortunately,
no,
I know that I'm wrong there. But anyway, so I just think it was very, very creepy. Some of the characters that obviously like don't go out in the sun are super creepy looking as well. And like when we talked about this in the Lord of the Rings episode, when I saw Sméagol for the first time, or some of the orcs or whatever, like it was kind of creepy. And I just kind of feel similar with a lot of the characters in this. So very violent, definitely something to be aware of if you're considering letting your kids watch it.
Yeah. What age are you thinking?
We're going right there, huh?
Well, I mean, or do you want me to tell you my like things first? I don't know.
Let's go. I would say 13, 14 if your kid is mature. But honestly, I don't even know if they'd be interested if they're younger than that. So I'm gonna go 13, 14 if they're mature. Otherwise, like 15, 16 years old.
Okay. We're not terribly far off in this for a lot of the same reasons.
Look at us.
The violence was a big thing. The mind control stuff was very concerning for me. And actually for me, because the actors are very, very good. Timothée Chalamet is an incredible actor. Like there's a scene where he has his hand in a box and it's evident that he's being caused pain, but there's no blood. There's no reason the box ought to be hurting him. He's just got his hand in a box full of pain apparently. But he's a very, very good actor. And so you see the stress on his face and you can tell he's in pain, and that would be evident to a child. So things like that were a little bit scary for me. I would say that it is appropriate for anybody 12 or older. Just like there's drugs in the sense that the spice is involved, but it's not really so much a drug as it is like a seeing the future situation. So it's not really drugs as we understand them. There's not really a lot of sex other than the implied sexual assault, which could be missed by a child. But the violence is a big thing for me. I said 12 and up, but it probably won't be interesting. Like the interest level is about 16 because the politics are extremely complicated.
Yeah.
And I think anybody under 16 probably wouldn't follow it. There was a 16-year-old kid in the theater when I saw it. And after the movie was over, I walked up to this poor kid and I was like, hey, I do a podcast called Is This for Kids? Do you like that movie? And he was like, I loved that movie, but I read all the books. And his dad was like, he's a giant nerd. And I was like, cool, see you later. So if your kid's a giant nerd, and I mean that with all the love in the world, then they might be totally into this. But appropriate for 12, interesting to 16.
Yeah, that is interesting. There was one other thing that I think is worth bringing up to have conversation with your kids about, and that's kind of the overarching handling of religion in the movie. Yeah. So there's obviously like a lot of the different characters are religious. In the second movie especially, they talk about the fundamentalists quite a bit, and Chani is very clearly like not going to listen, doesn't want Paul to be that messianic figure that he is, just wants him to be who he is. And
can you define the term messianic figure for me?
Sure. So there's the shortest, best way I can describe it is you look at Jesus, right? Who's the most famous messianic character, the Messiah. The Jewish people were waiting for him to appear for thousands of years before he did. And then he appears on the scene as the chosen one, as the savior, and gets people to believe in him. And here we are 2,000 years later, and
still a big
tons
deal.
of people believe in him. Yeah, huge deal. And so Paul is this character that the people are waiting for. He's the chosen one. He's the one who's going to set them free. He's going to lead them to paradise. The imagery is all around it. Yeah. And Chiani's just like, no, that's not what you need to be. You just need to be Paul.
Yeah.
And then Paul is, I don't want to spoiler alert here, but as you go on, Paul kind of like learns that he is, part of this kind of prophecy, and that in order to take them to paradise, he does have to like make sure that the fundamentalists rally around him. And so he spends a lot of the movie convincing, really him learning that he is who he is, and then convincing the people around him in order to free them. That he's the chosen one. And so, but Chiani is she's like, I'm not going to kneel in front of him. I want you to stay the same. Don't be this, kind of cult leader. And it really is kind of painted as like a cult. And once he convinces everyone that he is who he says he is, they just follow him all the way into battle.
Yeah.
So just something to be aware of, just the questioning of faith, if you're a family of faith, to have a good conversation with your kids, especially if they're like 12 and up, about what Chiani's character was like, about the fundamentalists, who oftentimes are portrayed as just kind of absolutely crazy in the film, although some of those characters are still my favorite. So just something to be aware of as you go into it. I think it's important to have that conversation. Yeah. One final thing about that is that so at least at the end of Dune 2, Paul's a pretty good leader. And so it's important I think the important lesson there is that not to just follow people blindly. So Chiani ends up, I think, understanding why he has to do what he does towards the end, and she isn't going to just blindly follow him. But I just thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, and I thought it's worth noting, like you do get that feeling that the people who are religious fundamentalists in the movie are sort of looked down upon, so that might be something to consider. But it is like if your family is religious, it might be something to point out that some of the characters you like the most, I can't remember his name, the older gentleman who like really believes in him.
He's awesome. Yeah.
He truly believes in this person. He may be a fundamentalist, but he's doing it like his heart is in the right place. Yep. This is not a person seeking power. His mother, the Bene Gesserit, what do they call her? Queen Mother? Reverend Mother. She's the Reverend Mother. That's Paul's mother. She had Paul knowing that she was potentially bringing a Messiah into the world. Like, she's not just preaching something. She got into it herself. Like, she became the mother of this person because she believed in him so strongly. So there's something to be said there. But yeah, just a little thought process for you.
Fun conversation starters. By the time that this podcast is out, it unfortunately will probably no longer be in IMAX. I didn't see it in IMAX, but I wish I would have.
Yeah.
The timing just didn't work out for the movie when I had to go see Kung Fu at the same time.
Yeah.
But my goodness, like the sound effects, the score, the music was epic.
Yeah. Definitely check it. It'll be on streaming by the time we're out here. And that's really our goal, is to try to get you something in time for streaming, because trying to take a whole family to the movies can be a little rough. Although I have some hacks.
You have some hacks that we may be able to reveal soon.
I know things.
We do. We know things.
It involves $10 popcorn and soda.
There you go.
Like for all of it. Like all of it.
Wait, I spent
For my family of 7.
I spent 20 just on me last night,
I spent
and that's not including the movie, just the popcorn and drink.
I spent 10 on having popcorn and soda for my entire family.
Wow, that's incredible.
I
Soon,
mean, there was some sharing, but
soon we can share with you.
yeah. Where could they find more stuff about us if they wanted to learn about us?
My favorite way to tell people is thisforkids.com, because it's easy to remember. It has every single link on there that you could possibly need, as well as some really cool announcements likely to happen in the next few weeks and or months.
Yeah. Also a great way to communicate with us if you want to talk to us about what content you would like to see. Some of the episodes we've got coming up were requested.
Absolutely. Give us a 5-star review if you enjoy the podcast and if it's helpful in any way. We appreciate you.
Yeah. There's just so much content out there for parents to go through.
I'm Jonathan Beard of Blevins.
I'm Katie, Mrs. Ruby. Let us help you decide.
Is this for kids?